Wow, just coming off the back of WWDC, and I know hardware has stolen the show. A VR AR headset was always going to be the headliner, but I think it would be remiss to miss all the awesome software that we're going to be getting over the next year. iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, and all a bunch of additional awesome, impactful features that I'm going to go over in this video. So, without further ado, let's jump in. The first thing we have is iOS. Now, in iOS, they really thought of a couple of handy things that really only Apple does this well. Just to continue making those little interactions just so easy. And the first one is name drop. Now, I think it's really cool adding the photo and your whole personalization about this. But for me, what interests me, it's just the ease of sharing a contact. Tap your phone together, boom, name drop. I must say, I've gotten so used to AirDrop. When you do take a photo and you want to send it to someone and they don't have an iPhone, it's like WhatsApp or whatever the case may be. It's so nice that these little interactions, like sharing a contact, is now possible with just tapping your phone. And on top of that, AirDrop has become such a key part of sort of our household or family or when we're out. The fact that they've made improvements to AirDrop as well, even when you walk away and you're no longer in distance, it will still continue via the internet. I think that's awesome, and I can't wait to start using it. Apple gets quite a rap for, falling behind with things like AI and, these sorts of tools, but they've really put a bit of a focus on bringing it into some of the things like predictive text. The demo that they did was really slick. I think typing and just some of those little, again, features that make your life a little bit easier are going to be much better. And the predictive text and completing sentences even is going to be really cool. I really hope that these changes come into Siri a lot more. They've dropped the phrase, hey. So now you'll just say that, and then you can also stack commands. So they're definitely doing the work. And I know there's privacy aspects to all of this, but I hope they can continue to improve on it, because that's really where we need the AI. I think, again, another really cool feature that they've thought of here is check-in. So safety is a big concern for a lot of people, and not only from a health perspective, but whatever your situation may be. So this check-in function essentially allows you to be sort of a beacon to, maybe it's your wife, she's going out for a run, and you want to make sure that she's tracking sort of, en route to a destination or driving, and you want to make sure she's not in an accident and just have that peace of mind. This check-in feature really makes it seamless, gives you updates. You don't have to be worrying, checking in, they're driving, they can't be texting you and so on. So I think, again, really cool feature. I know I'm going to use it, especially with my wife, traveling with the kids, going up to see, our in-laws. Use the check-in feature, make sure she gets there safe and sound, because I know when she gets there, she's going to have her hands full. She's going to just want to, spend the time with the family. Really cool other little things, live stickers, just making the process of stickers is just going to be really cool. I can already see myself doing a ton of stickers of just my children, sending it to the grandparents, those sorts of things. And then the last thing is, find my item sharing. This has been a hugely requested feature, that you can at least share items, because, man, we've got one AirTag on our car keys, and my wife will often use that, and these notifications that someone's tracking you can be so annoying. So I'm really glad to see that. The last of the sort of main ones is live voicemail. So, you would always see in the old movies, your phone call goes to voicemail, but you can hear the machine and then people might pick up. You essentially can do that now. And I know I'm going to use this feature. The amount of spam calls you get for call centers, if I don't know the number, I'll just simply let it go to voicemail. And if I can see that it's a waste of time, I didn't have to then pause my conversation with someone else. But, given that it may be important, I'll be able to take that. And finally, they've really taken on this process of journaling. And I think in this age where social media and Facebook, it became a journal for so many people, but it's so widely shared and you don't own that information. It seems like Apple's pushing into that space to bring privacy to a sort of way of captioning still your personal information and then you choosing who you want to share it with. So it's going to be an interesting take. I'm not sure it's something I'm going to use, but yep, I guess good on them for trying to do something in that way. The next feature is really iPadOS and iOS, and that's basically leaving your phone and iPad in standby mode. So they've really looked at the lock screen of how you can get more useful information out of that. And so already with my Apple Watch, when you leave it in charging, you get the readout of the time. But now what they've done is they've taken it to a new level. Your phone will have there with useful information, be it weather information, be it whatever little tidbits you want to set up in a personalized lock screen, that if it's in a horizontal mode and charging, you can get that useful information. So I already have my MagSafe charger propped up at an angle on my desk. So that would be very useful for me, even just to have the next calendar events that are coming up, that I've got that permanently there instead of that screen being a waste of real estate. This is coming to iPadOS with their lock screen, except taking it to a new level with the widgets. And widgets are a theme throughout this whole WWDC, including what we'll come to now on watchOS. But on the iPad, you're going to have nice, neat widgets on your lock screen that you can even interact with. This is something I've been longing for with some of my HomeKit things, being able to open the garage without having to unlock, maybe get to a couple of those things in a quick way. I know for things like locks and that, you would have to have your Face ID active, but it would be nice if it could be a much quicker interaction, or even just turning the lights off easily. So can't wait to see what people are going to come up with. I've really wanted the iPad to be able to be almost docked in a way, because my wife and I both have iPads, and hers often just sits when she's not using it, in a corner. It would be way cooler if we could dock that in the kitchen, and it could be more like a Google Nest or something of that sort of thing, where you could even have it with some of the cameras, for the kids' room when they're sleeping and that sort of stuff. The next thing that they really target is PDFs. I already use my iPad all the time for filling out forms. If I ever get that, I love the fact that on your Mac you can literally say edit, and then it pops up on your iPad to edit with a pencil. They've just taken that feature to a new level, where using sort of image recognition, they can see where the fields are. You can do autofill. So that process of filling out PDF forms is going to be even quicker and simpler on the iPad, which is awesome. The one thing that I really had high hopes for was Stage Manager, and it really didn't live up to what I had hoped. I actually ended up turning Stage Manager off on my MacBook, and I didn't even bother with it on the iPad, because it really just, I can see what they were going for, but it just didn't land there for me. So I'm hoping with these new improvements to Stage Manager, I'll give it another chance and see where it goes. So that's great. The other thing that they've brought to iPads is the Health app. Now, I think with people becoming more and more health conscious and Apple being more health focused, it was about time they brought it to the iPad, that you can really engage with some of those stats that are much better, viewed at that sort of scale. So I'm interested again to see what they do there and where they go. The other things are fairly small, but things like offline maps, live updates and activities being able to take over a much bigger real estate in that lock screen, and a couple of other nice little tools in free form and those sorts of likes. So again, I think some really key nice features to be used, and let's see how effective they really are. The big things that was announced before WWDC were the Pro apps that already are coming to the iPad. So they are taking it more and more serious, but I really hope that they continue down this route, because I've got an M2 chip in my iPad, and I know it feels like it doesn't ever go off idle. So I've got DaVinci Resolve on the iPad. I haven't used it extensionally. So yep, let's see where they take the iPad, but a lot of neat little features that I'm looking forward to using. macOS. So this is the OS I spend probably the second most amount of time in, obviously after iOS on my phone. And possibly really macOS I use even more. And what I really wanted to see from macOS was for them to continue taking work efficiency to the next level. There are very neat things that they've got there, like screensavers and that's going to just be beautiful. It's going to just make it a joyous experience interacting with your MacBook, which I feel it really, really is. But some of the features that they brought up, which I think are going to be handy, is web apps in a dock. So essentially, you can take a website and make it a little icon. Now, it seems silly, but I'm managing, for example, multiple Teams accounts, multiple email accounts, and I pay for an app just so that I could manage those tabs like in a web app form. Now I'll be able to create each of those in their own little applications and have those multiple windows open and not have to pay for a subscription for something like that, which I think it's going to be really handy for some individuals that are often managing tabs that they keep coming back to, or they've got a web browser that they always leave open with all your tabs because you always need that Teams open or whatever the case may be, where you may not have a native apps. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. The next one was presenter overlay, which I thought was really cool, especially trying to take our game up to a new level when we are presenting, doing calls, sales calls, these sorts of things. It's going to be very cool to be able to use built-in tool sets and not have to maybe leverage something like OBS from a streaming platform perspective. That's what I'm currently using to really be able to, may build out scenes just like the one you're viewing right now. It's going to be very cool if you can use those sorts of presenter overlays again in the likes of a Teams and a Zoom, and a WebEx, which they say that they've targeted. So yeah, very happy. There wasn't anything that completely blew me away. I know, again, a focus on privacy and, interestingly enough, a game mode, which seems to really, dull background tasks and give a full focus to games. So I know one of the things that they focused on there was actually gaming, which is very interesting for me. And I think they're setting up for a bigger future for gaming, specifically with the headset in mind. But yeah, they even went as far as to bring up an extremely well-known game developer, bringing more titles to the Mac in from a native format. So from someone that's not necessarily a big gamer, but would love the option to occasionally play a really nice AAA title, I'm really happy to hear that. So yeah, let's see if these sorts of things from a gaming perspective actually come to light. The next thing, which was a great space, and we've got HomePods throughout our home. So anything with from an audio perspective, AirPods, something that using consistently every day it's probably the item I'm using, 4 to 6 hours a day for meetings, for calls, for whatever the case may be. And let's start with the first feature there. On a call, you can push to mute and unmute, which I think is awesome. I hope this feature applies to meetings that you're on as well. Often you'll be on your AirPods, which is fantastic, and you can walk away and you're on a meeting, but then you have to run back quickly to your computer to mute or unmute if that's the case. So I'm hoping that is further than just calls, but you can unmute and mute yourself, from an audio source perspective. The other thing they brought to is like AirPlay in hotels. So I guess it's just going to make it easier for when you in someone else's, home or hotel or whatever the case may be, to basically AirPlay to other, devices. I'm not sure how it works exactly, but it seemed only specific hotels were rolling it out initially. So maybe it is, you have to join on that. The next feature, which I thought was really fun, is the CarPlay feature, where everyone can basically contribute to the playlist. Now, SharePlay, I haven't really used much, but the fact that you could get into a car, it's always a debate of who's got this, play this song, connect, disconnect. It's a hassle. And they've just taken that little interaction and they've made it really awesome that multiple people can contribute to what's playing, add to the playlist. And yeah, I actually think that may be something that we do use, especially if my wife's phone's connected to the CarPlay and I'm sitting there, or vice versa. So that's going to be great. The next thing on AirPods, which is awesome, is the adaptive audio. So it's really a mode that tries to intuitively know where you need to be, whether it's being isolating your voice and the audio and the noise around you, or making it completely transparent when you're interacting with someone. And for that bit of time, you need to be transparent. So with these things that are trying to be intuitive, I find that especially in the first iterations, they don't always hit the mark. So it'll be interesting to hear how that works. But they did say that they, for instance, brought big upgrades to the intuitive switching. Now, because I'm working between the MacBook, I've got the iPad, and then obviously you've got your iPhone where you're getting calls on. I think they have made, really from the beginning to where it's come now, definitely they've already made improvements of knowing when to switch, when to pause what. But any improvements on that are welcome because they still don't have it perfect. So I'm also looking forward to seeing what they come with that. And so, yeah, that's really from an audio perspective, I thought was really cool. I don't know if really it's the audio, but FaceTime on your TV, I can't believe they haven't done this sooner with continuity camera on your your MacBook using your iPhone. It's the perfect case for it. And I think this really is something families are going to use to connect. Set up your phone, be able to sit and view everyone on the TV. I think this is really going to genuinely bring people closer and use, like they say, the biggest screen in your house. WatchOS. Now, I have fallen in love with my Ultra. I came from Apple Watch 7 and moving to the Ultra, I've just loved it. I've loved the battery life. I love the durability. I've loved all the different straps. That doesn't really count because you can put them on anyone. But when the rumors were coming out that there were massive changes to WatchOS, I was extremely excited. And I think they did deliver. It was really hyped that there were going to be game-changing features. And I thought to myself, it's still, you can only do so much on a watch. So I think they definitely took it a step up, and I'm happy with what I'm seeing. The first thing there was just this smart stack with the information. So clicking on your watch, you can bring up some smart little informations and widgets. So these are things that we're familiar with on our iPhone already. You're now going to have that sort of level of information on your watch, which is welcome. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Navigating to apps and that screen is only so useful. And like I say, you predominantly use only a handful, if ever. So more so than not, when you look down, there's a little bit of tidbits of information that you want, and it's going to be fantastic to have that almost immediately. The watch faces are taking up a lot of space, and I hope that means that they're going to utilize the full size of the Ultra as well. So, and take advantage of that real estate, because it feels that it's really just been, what I was used to on the 45, just expanded to 49. So that really leads to the topographic maps, and the Ultra got a lot of criticism for not having that level of detail from a mapping perspective that things like the Garmin had. And I think over time, I would be very worried if I was Garmin, because Apple is adding some amazing health fitness features, which paired with the Apple Watch Ultra is really going to be a force to be reckoned with. And the topographic maps were really obviously nice to have. You can get them with third-party apps already, but I think that's going to be really helpful for people that are hiking. One thing that I really liked is that on the trackback features for where you basically having PIN, it will remember the last point that you had cell phone signal. So if there is an emergency, you know exactly where you need to go. So there's space for where you would have the last cell signal as well as SOS. So if you had to send an SOS where there was any signal, that could basically get that message away. And I think that is a very, very awesome feature that others like Garmin can't compete with because they don't support cellular in that regard. So I think that was a well thought out feature. Well done on that one. Other things that they really focused on, they took cycling to a whole new level. People avoided the Apple Watch as a sport watch that are cyclists because they couldn't attach things like power meters to it. And they've basically come up now with a way that you can obviously attach those metrics and have those metrics feed in. But what they've also done very well, which people typically spend more money on, is getting basically an external computer which will tell you how fast you're going, and you have that on your bike. Now what they've done is they've paired that with your iPhone. So your iPhone will give you the readout of all the metrics that you're looking for on your bike, plus having the health data. That is clever. And it's not groundbreaking, but it's going to save people money, and it's going to be a pleasure to use. It's going to be much brighter than any of those other, alternatives. And I can see lots of people using it. So off the back, if you're a cyclist, you're seriously taking getting an Apple Watch seriously now, whereas in the past you probably would have had to avoid it. And this goes through as well into some new sort of watch faces, which is all good and well, but nothing that's really going to change, the way I use my watch for myself. And finally, the last thing is mental health. Now, they've taken mental health quite seriously across all of the releases, but here they're using sort of the metrics and the health data they get off the watch and making it very simple and easy to track how you're feeling on an ongoing basis. And this will also feed into your journal. And I think things like mental health, there's a lot more awareness around it, but there's not really many proactive things out there to help manage or, just stay in touch with where you are and the stress levels that you may be feeling. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. And we'll see how the uptake looks on something like a feature like that. And finally, VisionOS. So this is really the new operating system that they're going to be building, all your softwares out on your VR, AR experiences that you want to deliver to Apple's headset. And so, they've got a lot of frameworks that have already been established across all the other platforms. And so people can immediately walk in as a developer and have those matured systems in place. But now they're bringing the additional functionality that you need to be able to design for a 3D experience and make the most of it. So one thing that's exciting for me is that everything on iPad and iPhone will immediately be able to be used in the headset, which gives you this huge library of applications that can be used. And they always needed something like that, otherwise it would be empty. But just like it was for the watch, there was very few things when it started. As developers get more time and all of that, we're going to have a lot more very custom applications focused just for experiences, in this, and that's where VisionOS plays its part. So that's really the summary. And like I say, there were some amazing features that I know I'm going to use on a daily basis. I can't wait to get the developer builds in. I'm quite apprehensive to put them on my Mac, but I will absolutely be throwing them on the iPad, on my watch, and possibly even my phone. I once thought I bricked my phone doing it, but I didn't. And I said to myself, I'm never going to do early betas again. So I might wait for beta 2, beta 3, just to get the main things out the way. But very exciting, some thoughtful features, and I think we're all going to enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed this video. You got some useful information out of it. And lastly, I just want to thank our sponsor, Flex. They are a leading learning management system and ecosystem. So if you're looking to deliver a course online, give Flex a look. All the best. Go well.
The way training businesses are going digital is broken. Legacy learning management systems, manual assessment processes, broken delivery across web and mobile, complex coding, expensive software subscriptions, it all adds up, making it difficult to be competitive and scale. And ultimately, you are left behind. Introducing Flex. Flex's digital training system changes everything. Imagine a new age learning management system, digital assessment tool, and digital portfolio of evidence all in one platform, allowing you to create, deliver, and administer training and learning experiences seamlessly. Flex allows you to create content quickly and easily with built-in authoring tools. Learning content can now be launched in seconds, not days. You'll have the flexibility to offer tailored learning experiences. You can now make learning engaging and interactive. Whether your learners prefer mobile, web, or desktop applications, Flex has got you. Our dynamic learner pathways take learning beyond the traditional linear approach. Use smart push notifications to keep your learners engaged. And with our e-commerce tools, you can easily grow your revenue by selling your learning experiences. Assessing assignments and examinations are now faster and easier than ever before. You can digitally assess and remediate written assignments in a matter of seconds. Plus, we offer beautiful certificate templates that can be automatically issued upon completion, saving you time and effort. You can also build a digital portfolio of evidence for learners that can be shared and exported. Our first-of-its-kind reports and analytics will help you stay on top of everything and drive success for your business. Flex is the tool that will take your training to the next level. You can increase your revenue and reduce costs and wasted time exponentially. Our engaging user experience is designed to fascinate and engage learners. Flex offers unmatched flexibility and tools to unleash your full potential. Give yourself an unfair advantage and get started with Flex today.